This is all of our boot accessories that we've slowly developed over the last 4 years as we've done more and more boot reviews and realized how many things are missing in the market. So be sure to check out all these below. They make great gifts, self-gifts, and it's a huge way that you can help support the channel. So check them out below. Bearfoot unboxing today. Not just Bearfoot style shoes, but the actual brand Bearfoot. And these guys are cool. I love these dudes. Because you probably heard me say it before, but like so many of the barefoot world and so much of the anatomical ground feel world is so like eco-friendly, and like we're not going to use any animal parts. Instead, we're going to use plastic. It's so much better for the environment. We're going to save animals by polluting the world with a ton of plastic. There's arguments either way. Obviously, I lean heavily towards leather and natural materials and materials that return to earth and nature once you're done with them. And for once, one of these brands that makes barefoot stuff is actually a man's brand. A bunch of jack dudes lifting some heavy weights, making some leather boots that happen to be barefoot. And I love them. I love the dudes. They're so nice. They're so fun. They make unique products. And this box showed up in the mail, and so I was just like, I don't even know what this is. So we're gonna do a quick unboxing. Plus, I got a couple cobalt knives. So I did that baby knife video, but the video was just like unboxing them and seeing what they were and like the different knives that I collected. And I saw this one at Lowe's. So I was like, maybe I'll just do a little unboxing of that. Because this looks about like what I want, but I couldn't tell if they're plastic. I couldn't tell what they were. It was like 3-piece for like 10 bucks or something. So, oh dang, they are plastic. I was hoping it was like aluminum or something. But Skylar, our photographer, and he's on the marketing team. He's got a really, oh no, wait, is this plastic? Now it's starting to feel like metal. He's got one that's similar to this, but it's metal and it's got like a wire frame on it. Sorry, that's probably the most horrendous noise you heard all day. That's aluminum. Okay, cool. I didn't know it was aluminum. It feels like plastic because it has this kind of plasticky coating on top that I had to scrape off. So I actually like that. That's nice because you don't have as much of a cold feel as aluminum. It has a little bit more grip, and the way this works looks like you just push that down. How does it work? Okay, you push the blade down like this. So it's kind of, it doesn't work super smooth because really the only thing that's keeping that knife in there is that spring bar right there. So kind of cool, but Skylar's knife's better. Maybe in the next video I'll just go steal Skylar's knife. I think it's still on his desk actually. Sorry, Skylar. So yeah, almost good. Doesn't have a belt clip either. So let's do the gray one to unbox these. But first, who is Bearfoot besides them being a bunch of cool jack dudes that make actual leather barefoot stuff? Okay, so this is the website. Step into strength. Bearfoot is redefining minimalist footwear with high performance barefoot shoes and barefoot boots designed for every aspect of your life. Also, these dudes donated like 10 grand, 15 grand or something for the big 1 million subscriber giveaway we did last year. That was such a pain in the butt, but I think we gave away thousands and thousands of boots. That was a really cool thing for like a cool benchmark for the business, a milestone. And Bearfoot donated. From barefoot sneakers built for strength training to casual barefoot shoes perfect for everyday wear and rugged outdoor barefoot boots made to handle any terrain. Our footwear supports natural movement without compromise. Each pair features a wide toe box, zero drop platform, and flexible design to promote balance, stability, and optimal foot function. Because the gym I go to, I got a homie named Nate who, he's a trainer, he's jacked, just so big. He's like, his arms and legs are like 3 times the size of mine. And he came to the shop and I hooked him up with a bunch of the different barefoot shoes. And so I'm gonna give him a pair of these too to see how they actually test compared to the limbs that I gave him, the Tolos that I gave him. I think I gave him some Vivos. And so he's kind of becoming my tester that's actually a dude that will test these. You know, I work out, but I'm not one of those heavy lifting dudes that can actually test these shoes for what they're used for. So maybe I'll hook him up with a pair, see what Nate does. So yeah, pretty basic, like barefoot style. Got the truth of why cushioning hurts. I think there's an argument either way, to be honest. I am not the type that likes no squish underneath my foot. I don't like that. And I think these have some more squish in them than a lot of shoes. So let's see what they've got. So we've done this one, I think. It's the Made in the USA. It's super small. Oh, I've never actually, is that what I got? I don't even know what I have. Let's get to that after. Let's just see what I actually got before I get too deep into the website. Okay, let's see what Bearfoot sent me. Whoa, dang. What the heck? That's a full-on boot. Whoa, it's shearling lined? What the heck? I didn't even know they had this kind of boot. That's so funny. I love that. Flat Shoe Society. That's so funny. Yeah, Flat Earth is the play there. Who knows, with all the stuff coming out now, maybe, I actually saw a meme. I saw a really funny TikTok the other day that was like, flat earthers realizing that every single conspiracy theory was true except for flat Earth. And I was like, kind of true, you know, with all the chaos. I'm pretty sure you can say Epstein. I don't think it's like back in the day with, remember when coronavirus came out? You couldn't even say Corona, you couldn't say China. Like YouTube would demonetize your videos. I've lived through that censorship where I was like, oh dang, like censorship is so real. Because I had a couple buddies that were on YouTube too, and like they were actively suppressing information on YouTube. And so I get a little hesitant to even talk about anything because you just never know what little thing you might say might completely ruin your 5 or 6 years you invested into a YouTube channel. You just don't know. They have all control over everything. And that is why, besides the loud motorcycle, that's why we don't just rely on YouTube. Like, that we just, like, there's so many YouTubers out there that's like, I'm a YouTuber, that's all I do. And I'm like, YouTube is part of what we do. You know, it's a big authority for us. It's what we like learned everything. But like the way we actually make money is through our handmade goods, our collaborations, because you cannot trust those companies to take care of you. You just can't. I've lived through like that kind of censorship, and I'm like, ooh. A lot of people have no idea that Rose Anvil started as a leather goods company and especially a camera gear company, because in 2018, we launched our very first Kickstarter, raised $500,000 for a camera harness. COVID hit immediately after, and so we started cutting boots and shoes in half from a professional leather worker's perspective. And then that whole thing happened. I finally got around to designing all the rest of the camera gear that I've been wanting to release in like the last 5 years, starting with the little slim wrist strap, cinches down, hand sewn. It's our belt thickness leather, so it's super sturdy. Our slim neck strap, same kind of concept. Really simple attachments, solid brass, a little neck piece there. The lasso link, which is one of my favorites, because this thing is super articulate. You see all these little individual pieces and how they flow and move around. Our Lone Bandit that you've probably heard me talking about plenty. It holds one camera about as comfortably as humanly possible because it distributes your weight over a larger surface area. And then the Big Daddy, the full Bandit harness. This carries 2 to 3 cameras because you can get a third camera attachment with the Pro package, and everything is designed by me and handmade right here in the shop. So if you need to get some birthday gifts, if you need to upgrade your camera gear, or if you got an old camera just sitting around, you need a good excuse to pull it out, get yourself a little strap, check them out below. And thanks for supporting our handmade leather goods that makes this whole channel possible. Anyway, less about how YouTube can be at times, most of the time. Well, look at these. These are a weird boot. Look how wide that is. That is absolutely insane. I'm actually wearing a pair of Lems, which is perfect. Look, they're even wider than Lems. That is nuts. And like, just to put it in perspective, this is my foot. You know, I have a pretty narrow foot, and I don't really need that wide of a toe box, but just to show you how wide these actually are. Because there's a lot of guys out there that they'd have like seriously that wide of feet that can't wear anything else, and there's no high quality options. And I think this is, let's see. So this is, let's figure out what boot this actually is. Let's look at the information. Arktos. $500. 100% American-made, lifetime guarantee, cowhide from Montana Leather Co. Wide toe box, 0 drop, merino wool lining. Oh, I already forgot it was a merino wool lining. Fiber moutsole, resoldable, rebuildable. The Arktos is a true winter-ready barefoot boot built to handle the harshest cold weather conditions without compromising natural feet function. Okay, the combination ensures your feet. Yeah, you get it. It's a winter boot with the shearling lining, traditionally made. 5 to 6 ounce cowhide, merino wool, veg tan leather insole. You get in there. So let's look at some of the details. So yeah, 360 stitch down construction, runs all the way around. You can see right here, they really got a lot of panels coming together right there. I'd be willing to bet they're gonna play with this design and get that cleaned up a little bit over time, because that's a lot of material for that sewing machine to sew through. And if you screw that up right there and you it chews up all this leather, you sometimes have to start from scratch, like all over again. It's not as bad because they don't sew through the outsole, so it's not quite as much material to sew through, but I wouldn't be surprised if they adjust the pattern a little bit right there. You can see it's got a really unique counter. Look how big and like sweeping that counter is. Woof, all the way up there. And it's kind of that lace-a-toe pattern style where you've got this big sweep up here to protect that instep area. What else? It's got a nice little flex cutout right there. Gusseted tongue up to the 3rd or 4th eyelet. Merino wool, is it actually shearling or is it just a merino wool layer? It's hard to tell. We might have to cut it in half to find out, to be honest. And on the inside, whoa, you got a nice merino wool, or at least a wool insole. It feels like it's glued in. I'm gonna tear it out. Yeah, just look how wide that thing is. That is so ridiculous. But that's the shape of most people's feet, so you can see why it matters. If you look down in there, you can see that veg tan insole in there. See that Blake stitch going around too. So I wonder what that Blake stitch sews together. The Blake stitch sews, so it's Blake stitched and 360 stitch down. That is a unique boot. It's far from the prettiest boot I've ever seen, but that's the sliding scale you're always playing with barefoot boots. The more barefoot, the more anatomical, the harder it is to make it look like a regular shoe, because regular shoes, I don't have any near me, are pointy. And so that's the hard thing with this kind of footwear, is writing that line for each brand. You know, each brand has their point where like, that's wide enough, that's wide enough, that's wide enough. You know, each brand, and that's kind of what's cool about the barefoot industry is if you find a brand that works, like, what's the one, Wildling shoes. They're kind of barefoot in the shape, but they're pretty narrow, to be honest, and there's almost nothing underneath your foot. Whereas with this, ridiculously wide with a lot of stuff underneath your foot. And so there is actually a lot of diversity in the barefoot market. And that's why this kind of shines to me, because no one else is making like a lifting style boot or a winter style boot that's this wide, that has all, like, it's still made in the United States. Pretty cool. Let's look at their site and see what else they got, just to take a quick glance at other products they've dropped since I've last checked out their site. So they got I think we did the Bruin Patriot. I think that's the one we cut. I think it was like this color. So if you want to see that, I think we cut it. Did we cut it? There's a video on this somewhere, for sure. I don't remember if it's on the main channel or not. Either way, I'll put links in the description for you. Oh, that's the same one. Yeah, it's cool. I like seeing these brands like really pushing the limits on stuff. $300 for this one, 100% American made. So that's the non-lined one, right? Basically, Arktos. That's gotta be all the winter ones. And then this is, as far as I understand, this is kind of your non-lined alternative that's still made in the US. I know we reviewed this one, and I think they've improved this boot since their first few batches. Pretty sweet. So shout out to Bearfoot for sending this in. Shout out to them again for donating to the big giveaway we did earlier this last year. Like this time last year, actually. That was super cool to be able to have like small brands support us as a small brand for that giveaway for you guys. And you know, they are making unique stuff, and it's finally one of these brands that's not just an eco-friendly nightmare where they sacrifice the quality of their product for this, in my opinion, made up kind of posturing version of like trying to save the world. Meanwhile, they're pumping out really cheap products that just fail in a few like months. They're like, we're eco-friendly. These guys are actually doing the eco-friendly way. Some people are gonna disagree with the leather, but I'd be willing to bet across the board, and if you really look at the numbers, you really look at the effect, I'd be willing to bet a traditional made boot has less of an environmental impact and has less of an impact on nature, has less of an impact on all the things that all those people care about that make plastic and petroleum-based shoes. I guarantee I'd be willing to bet $1,000, maybe $10,000, that these are, at the end of the day, better for the environment, better for humans, better for nature.
Better pizza, Papa John.
Because it's almost like it comes from nature. It's almost like leather comes from nature and rubber comes from nature. You know, kind of crazy how that works. Instead of petroleum, highly produced and refined petroleum into, yeah, you get the point. That's why I like these guys, because they're cool and they're jacked and they actually care about things instead of pretending they care about things. So check out Bearfoot below. I'll put the links to those other videos below as well. And I think that's it. Thank you guys. See ya.